of the United States as a moral leader, as one capable of promoting democracy and human rights. And given the worsening situation, human rights situation in this country, as well as the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the image can't look very good right now.
All right, and so, you know, the reason as to why I'm asking that question is because when you look at Nancy Pelosi, when she delivered that impassionate speech calling on members to support the impeachment of Trump, this is what the Republican minority leader, Kevin McCarthy, said. He said that Trump bears the responsibility for the Capitol attack, but does not deserve to be impeached. And this arises after fears that probably Trump might release some of the secrets of the U.S. to their enemies before, you know, we're just remaining with 6 days before President-elect Joe Biden is sworn in, And, you know, Nancy Pelosi also argued that you do not even know what sort of danger Trump might put the nation in.
Well, this Kevin McCarthy and others once again have shown that they are asking people to tolerate what took place last Wednesday in order to achieve peace, when in fact the peace was broken by the people who support Donald Trump. He called this mob to Washington, D.C. He encouraged them to go to the Capitol and conduct the business that they did. But now the American people are being asked not to hold him accountable. That would be a tragic situation if he was not held accountable for this. And whatever time was remaining, it should be something that is pursued, because it's never happened in the history. And in my opinion, it definitely should be addressed.
All right. And Jennings, let me be the devil's advocate here, because yesterday when the Republican supporters of Donald Trump were basing their argument on the floor of the House so that Trump cannot be impeached, they were saying that Democrats are sort of playing double standards, because when there were demonstrations about Black Lives Matter, those destruction of properties, shops, businesses were looted. But then what happened on the Capitol then made Democrats to say Trump might be impeached. So they're saying this is a double standard, so Trump should not be impeached. Also, Democrats have to bear the responsibility.
This is a fool's argument. And the fact of the matter is attacking the United States Congress is a treasonous act. In these insurrections, can you imagine the Confederate flag being taken through the United States Capitol? People searching for Nancy Pelosi's, Congressman Clyburn is even laid out. He had an office that no one really knew where it was, but they came directly there. There was inside assistance for this insurrection. And once the full facts are laid bare, I think people are going to be shocked that, in fact, a number of the members of Congress believe that some of their colleagues were assisting the rioters.
But, Jennings, won't you agree with me?
It's a big difference.
But won't you agree with me that...
There's a big difference between Black Lives Matter standing up for the democratic rights and saying that the excessive use of violence by the police against unarmed citizens should be addressed,
but then
and being met.
Won't you agree with me that Trump was a bit remorseful over what happened? Because yesterday, as senators were debating about his impeachment, he was on social media, you know, as much as his account was frozen, but he took a video and a message sent to different media houses, including Fox News, saying that Americans, you need to be remorseful, you need to maintain peace during this time.
I'm happy that he made that statement, but look at the 4 years of statements that he's made. He has actually called for political violence against his opponents. He has it's shown that he is a racist, sexist, misogynist, xenophobic leader. And the culmination of all of this was the attack on the United States Capitol on Wednesday.
All right, thank you so much, Keith Jennings, for talking to us here on KTN News Center about what transpired yesterday on the floor of the House, the Congress, the Senate, where 297 senators voted to impeach President Donald Trump for the second time, and 197 say that Trump should not be impeached, majority of them from the Republican Party. Let's get back home, where 4 schools in Kapedo at the border of Baringo and Turkana counties have been shut following an attack by suspected bandits. The schools include Kapedo Primary, Kapedo Girls Primary, Lomelo Primary, and Kapedo Secondary. Armed bandits raided the center on Monday evening, killing one person and injuring two others. Now, students had to be evacuated using security personnel vehicles to safer locations. So let's speak to the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, George Natembeya, on the state of security in that region. And thank you so much, Mr. Natembeya, for talking to us here on KTN News Center this morning. Good morning. And straight away, attacks are happening in the presence of security officers.
Thank you for the opportunity. That general area, of course, has had issues, has had security instances of insecurity between the Pokot and the Turkana, and it's true that we've deployed a sufficient number of officers there, about 12 formed units there. But it's not true that attacks are happening while officers are looking on. That's not true.
All right, but the reason as to why I'm asking you this question, Mr. Natembeya, it's because Kapedo has two camps. If I may just recall, we have the RDU and GSU within the center. So why would we have constant attacks in that area, yet we have RDU and GSU?
We don't have constant attacks. What we have are periodic skirmishes between the two communities. Basically, what happened recently is that one community stole animals, and because they tend to believe that because GSU is domiciled within their area, therefore, when the victims come looking after the animals, the GSU and the RDU are supposed to protect them. That's why they're saying that there were attacks and officers were looking. If there were attacks that they were alleging, I'm sure very many people will have died because the bandits were many and they were armed. But because our officers did what they were supposed to do, we didn't have a lot of casualties or fatalities.
But what is making it difficult to have the attackers arrested over the years, Mr. Natembeya? Because we've had reports of bandits, attacks, and it has been reported in various media houses, but not even a single, attacker has been arrested.
No, people have been arrested. The challenge you have there, again, is that the victims rarely record statements. Even what happened yesterday, people, because they live together, they know who did that. But so far, nobody has recorded any statement. So even if you go and arrest somebody, you're going to charge him with what? And who is going to corroborate the evidence? So people believe that once an attack happens, they engage in revenge attacks. That's the kind of culture that we want to stop. But in the meantime, because the challenges we have there are basically the gun culture, we've been trying to get firearms from the hands of civilians voluntarily. It hasn't worked very well because the level of surrender is not very, very encouraging. And that's why we speak now, but also on the ground who are trying to carry out for disarmament.
So it's good you're bringing about that issue of the disarmament exercise. So talk to us how successful this has been, in cattle rustling prone areas of Rift Valley.
It hasn't, because we've not carried out a proper disarmament exercise since the 80s. We've got so many people who, whenever we start carrying out disarmament, start making a lot of noise and raising all sorts of allegations, especially of police harassment, say houses are being burned, animals are being shot. Some of these things are stage managed, and therefore, when there's a lot of noise about politics, we're not able to carry out very successful operations. And that's why we're saying people who raise these issues want them to come to the ground, and they can even join our officers as they carry out this exercise, because we really don't restrict. But when noise comes from the ground and it's reported as it is, then it actually frustrates our efforts in terms of mopping out these firearms. So from where I sit, we've not had intended disarmament exercise the way it's been planned up to the end. We do maybe 1 or 2 days out of maybe the 60 days, a lot of noise, then again the entire exercise is just abandoned.
But Mr. Natembeya, from your explanation, with all due respect, when I'm asking you this question, so will Kenyans living in Rift Valley region, the areas that are prone to banditry, continue living in fear? Because you're saying that anytime you're talking about disarmament, there's a lot of noise from the ground, and thus the exercise has never been successful. So for how long will this continue? Because the people are looking up to you to give them security.
Yeah, and that's one area that I completely disagree with, because the issue of security is not a one-man show. The people who make noise are not the ordinary folk, because the ordinary folk know what's happening, because they live with these bandits and they know when you carry out disarmament, they know what we are doing. The people who make noise are elected leaders and those who are looking for elective positions, because they think when you state yourself as defender of the community, then you'll get votes. So we are saying, even as government does this, we want the local leaders to come on board and support instead of fighting these efforts.
So who are the people behind these arms, giving local residents the arms as a way of defending themselves, which has led to the death of innocent Kenyans? And what is the government doing about it once you get the information?
Because the Rift Valley borders many countries, especially that have got security issues. You know them, I don't have to name them. Our border is also long and very porous. So accessing firearms is fairly easy. And because the area is, we cannot police the entire area, is too big. And then number two, we have got people who procure these firearms for these people, because it's not very easy to get a firearm. They're relatively expensive. So we have got local leaders, we know them, who are doing this, but again it's very difficult to collect enough evidence to take them to court, because they do it in such a way that you can't really see their hand, but you can always suspect that those who are doing this. But the plans we have is that we need to open up that area more, have proper infrastructure, social infrastructure, including schools, including roads, including hospitals, so that we take these young people to school. Instead of them being socialized into banditry, they go through the normal schooling like any other child in Kenya. We can be able now to clear the reservoir from where these warriors are recruited.
So what is next, for the learners in Kapedo, and what is the future of the center? Because several schools have been closed in Kapedo due to banditry attacks.
Those schools were closed because of fear, because when the people are fighting and there's the sound of guns all over the place, then that environment is not very conducive for learning. But no single school was actually attacked. We are taking our time between today and over the weekend to ensure that total calm is restored in that area, so that on Monday